Welcome back to Monster Guitars. Okay, what am I doing right now? Well, I'll bring you a bit closer and show you. So there is the guitar that I've oiled, and you see, during the middle of the day, it's not great because I've got that letting all this light in, so it distorts the natural color of things. It's a bit better. I've had that guitar hanging up and well and truly drying over quite a long time now. The oil finish looks good. Whoops, knocking things over. It's still not quite as tidy as it should be. I am getting there. I may even apply a further coat at some point, but this will do for now. What I need to do is start thinking about electronics, which is not my favorite guitar building thingy. It really isn't, and you know this probably. This, if you've been watching my guitar videos for a while, you may recognize, although I didn't show the staining of it, as the Neck Through Telecaster project, which is actually quite a nice guitar in some ways. And the finish looks really good too. I hope you will agree. It's just that it contains a pretty major flaw. And that is, I thought I'd measured this right, but you need to measure lots, obviously. But the bridge position isn't quite right, so that the scale length is off and all the intonation is wrong and it's not playable. And that's a real shame. And it's not an easy fix. I can't just move that bridge a few millimeters that way because all the routing that's been done, it just wouldn't work well. And I've done the string holes through the body. It will make a lovely ornament. Anyway, those are some pretty good pickups. Actually, that one doesn't seem to work, but that's probably my wiring. They're quite nice pickups. They're called Fender Atomic pickups. They're called Atomic pickups made by Fender. And they sound really good. I'm going to scavenge that one and put it into this guitar because it sounds good. Okay, basically that's it. And then I'm going to get to work on the wiring of the knobs. So without too much further ado, let's proceed. There isn't really that much of interest to see with the wiring, so I'll just show you some token footage to show that I am in fact doing the wiring. So as my comments from time to time will not so subtly let on, wiring and the whole electronic side of guitars is not really my field of expertise. I mean, it is basic electronics. And, I'm smart enough to understand this stuff. I just don't have experience with it and I don't enjoy it. So what I do, like a lot of people, is rely on wiring diagrams, which is generally a sensible thing to do if you don't know what you're doing. The Seymour Duncan website, not that they're paying me to say this, but they have a wiring diagram generator where you enter the basic configuration of your guitar, the number and type of pickups, and the number and type of controls. It's not infinitely configurable, but it'll cover most configurations and it will spit back at you a helpful diagram to use, which is what I'm doing here for one tone, one volume, one humbucker. Fairly simple. So I've screwed the humbucker into the scratch plate. I actually am using the neck humbucker from the old guitar here, not the bridge humbucker. That's because on the bridge humbucker, the hole in the middle of that tab there has stripped, and that would have been just a pest to deal with. Yes, the spacing between the poles is a little bit different between a neck and bridge pickup by 2 millimeters, I think, yes. But the position of the pickup on this guitar isn't actually neck or bridge. It's about halfway in between, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. One more wire that I've put in here is the earth wire, which I have pinned under where the bridge will be with some copper tape with a hole in the middle so the wire can poke through, and that'll be well and truly pinned when I put the bridge on. Okay, let's get down to business. Turn this thing over and do the wiring. The only wiring I have to do now is the output jack. But before I come to that, there's a little bit more woodworking that I think I'm going to do here. So if you look at a side view where I drilled the hole, number one, I think I drilled it too large. Yeah, I think I did. And I also drilled it too close to the front, to the point where if you look at the guitar from the front, you can see that. And that's not good. I mean, I've got a few jacks with metal plates, and they basically look like that, or else they're square, but I can't really see one of those easily fitting over this hole, even if I reshape this as I plan on doing so. So I will do something that I've done before and make a custom plate out of scratch plate material. I'll have to check to see if I have any, but I think I do. Okay. I'm almost glad this happened because I remember the last time, a long time ago now, but when I was making the Telecaster shaped guitar with a Blackwood top, which is still sitting around somewhere. It has a few flaws, but I might be able to redeem that. We'll see. A similar thing happened where I wasn't happy with the shape of the hole there, and so I decided to reshape that surface by filing and sanding and then make a custom plate, and it ended up looking actually really good. So I suspect a similar thing will happen here. Now I'll get some finer paper still, 800, just to retouch the surfaces that I've already sanded up to 800 and oiled. But this will, by the looks of things, go according to plan and look lovely. And it's all, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with having pre-manufactured metal plates in which your jack sits. That's fine. Most guitars have that, but I don't know. There's something just that much classier about having custom parts. So I'm going to count this as a win because that's how I get through life. In order to make the Perloid plastic plate that I'm going to put on that surface, I will first make an MDF template. And I'm going to do that just because that will make it easier to bevel the edges on the plate that I'm going to make, as I have done on the scratch plate there. Oh, those rough bits of plastic you can see there are just bits of the clear film that I haven't peeled off yet. I'm trying to protect it. So in order to get that right, I've made a pencil rubbing of the flat area, and I'll make the MDF template slightly larger than that initially, and then on my disc sander I'll sand it down to size until I have it just as I want it. Okay, this is starting to look about right. I didn't show you cutting it out. That's kind of boring, but we'll see if we're getting close to having it fit. Okay, we certainly are. So what I'll do is I'll just basically walk back between the sander and the guitar, sanding away until I'm happy that I've got the perfect shape. I've got the plate to the right shape now, and here's how I did it for those who are curious. So on the router table, I've got a flush trim bit. There are a variety of things that can be called a flush trim bit, or that are called a flush trim bit, whether they should be or not. That specific type of flush trim bit is called a pattern bit, where the bearing is on the shaft end. This is a different type of flush trim bit, where the bearing is on the end, and basically the bearing runs along the edge of the template. The blade cuts the plate to shape, and it's a bit daunting when you've got such a small piece. It feels like you're more likely to cut yourself. So quite important here that I only have the bit protruding as much as is absolutely necessary to cut that thin piece of plastic, which makes it actually pretty low risk if you're careful. I should set a good example here, and not lead you to believe that I did something unnecessarily dangerous that you might go and do likewise. So I'm going to now use this 45-degree chamfer or beveling bit to put a bevel around the edge of the plastic plate, but I can't have this down so low just because of the size of the bit and the size of the opening at the top of the router. I can't lower it so much that the blade isn't dangerous. It is a bit of a risk when you've got such a small piece holding the piece on the router, because your fingers are going to be really close to that blade, and I wasn't very comfortable doing that. So what I've done is I've screwed on a handle. Looks like a great big toothbrush. I've screwed on a handle, make it nice and tight so there's absolutely no movement, with two sets of holes, one on that side, one on that side, so I can switch the handle over when I need to, so that I can hold the piece at a safe distance when I'm doing this beveling. Okay, the handle's working really well. I'll swap it around now so I can do the other end. Done. And that looks pretty good. Looks nice having the perloid in two places on the body of the guitar. If you're looking at the guitar from the right angle, you can see them both. From the front, not so much. Okay, I'll get that jack wired up, and then we'll see what else needs to be done. Any final fretwork? I have to test that the electronics are working. I've brought an amplifier out to the workshop just to test the output now that I've wired this thing up. One thing I noticed right away, there is a bit of a hum, which is okay. You'll get that. But the hum dampens down significantly, or at least somewhat, when I touch the bridge, which is usually a symptom of less than perfect earthing. I do have the earth wire running under the bridge, as I think I showed you earlier. Maybe it would be worse without that, I don't know. But one thing you can do, and you may have noticed that I haven't, and you might have wondered why I haven't, I just haven't, is you can put shielding inside the control cavity, and that will, I guess you could put it inside the pickup cavity as well. Yeah, of course you could. People do. And that will just help to reduce any miscellaneous buzzing or humming noises. Not everyone does it. Not everyone likes it, actually, because they think it's too quiet and reduces too much noise. I don't know, but I haven't done it. Anyway, let's get on to testing the pickup. If the pickup output isn't what I expect, if there isn't any, then you can get right down into testing what's going on by using a multimeter on the wires of the pickup. But let's just see. Good. Good, I'm hearing the sorts of tapping and popping from the amp that I would hope for when you tap on the poles of the pickup with something metallic like the screwdriver. Great. The volume drops away when you turn it down, and that might be a bit more subtle at your end. That's the tone. The tone is changing. I don't think the volume is dropping right off. I think maybe the tone is just becoming more muffled because it's a different tone. I think that's working. I think. Sounds good. Okay, what do I need to do? Well, I'll stop recording just now and you'll see what I'm going to do next.